Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Uh, so I feel like I do have a little bit of explaining to do. Before we get started, sorry I didn't stream at all. I said I did, was going to. Like, I always feel so bad when I say I'm gonna stream, but I don't. But honestly, like, I was gonna do, like, some sort of stream-a-thon, but then I realized it's probably not a good idea. I have, like, classes and stuff. But I do want to try at some point. Um, oh, we can co-op this? Well, I have no one to co-op with yet, but that's a good thing to keep in mind. But yeah, it was just like kind of impractical time. Maybe we'll try it again. Oh, little fox puppy thing. It's so cute. Please work. Pain. And also like really fucking bad at time management, if you haven't noticed already. Like I'm trying to get better with procrastination and stuff. Like I feel like that's the main reason I don't get shit done. Because I am so bad with procrastination. I'm trying to get a hold of that. Like I'm making a whole no procrastination November and everything. I might be in my Discord actually. So please do follow that if you are interested in seeing my progress. And hey, maybe you have a few things you want to work out, like a few bad habits or whatever you want to work out. I would totally like as long as you're comfortable sharing them, of course. I'm just here to be chill and chill with you guys. Does work. Just have a good day here. But yeah. Oh, that fluffy thing is so cute. The character is cute too. They're really cute. I heard the character is non-binary, but I'm not sure. Which is great. More NBs. More NBs is always a good thing. God, my computer's so crappy. Please work. But this music is really nice. This has an amazing soundtrack. I guess this is like vaguely Halloween. Which, by the way, happy Halloween, you guys. Oh, it's working. Wait, so are we like the Grim Reaper? Are we taking Callie's job here? So many jobs. So many games where we take Callie's job, damn. Ah, finally. Just click this. What am I... Enter? For a second, I thought you would never wake up, little one. How ironic would that have been, would it not? I'm Charon. Okay. Got some mythology going on here. Is this a surprisingly chill River Styx? Yes, another day of having to deal with my shitty computer. I'm so sorry, guys. I think this game would be so heavy on like on the computer. No. Oh. The SpiritFarer. Yep, he is. Compared to our boy TM, I think. Well, that is what I have been until your arrival. I cannot say I am sad to leave, but I still had a few things left to do here. I am afraid you will have to pick up the things where I left them. After all, it is my very last day. Hell yeah, you boys are retiring. And you are? Stella. Welcome, Stella. I see you have brought a friend here. Go with you. What is his name? Daffodil. Aww. I see. You two will share the burden then, and take it over from me. As I said, in a few minutes I will be gone from this world. And that is why you are here. You will be the new SpiritFarer. Listen, your task here will be far from easy, but simple nonetheless. Go fetch the stray spirits stranded on the islands, and when they are ready, bring them back here. Tiny souls can't pass away on their own. You will have to help them fulfill their last request and be at their service until their last breath. Look how pretty this game is. It's so nice looking. The big round bridge over there is the Everdor. The Alpha where everything starts, the Omega where everything ends. This is where all the quests get completed and where existence meets its value. There is no task more important than this one. Never forget this, Stella. There is something I need to give you. What? Oh, cute. Now, be really careful with it. It is the Everlight. The symbol of your status here, and the only tool you will ever need. Wait, what are you? What? What is going on? Wait, that tone shift. Oh, how highly inappropriate. Well, that settles it. The Everlight will help you throughout your travels. It will be the light and that shines in the darkness, the last remaining hope of the departed. Throws again. The lovely scuff of a Halloween night. Ooh. I guess it wouldn't be a solo song with me though. It would be just a stream-a-thon. I still can't get subs yet. No Subway sandwiches for me. No Cronies Cursed Subway sandwiches. God. That's her company name now. Yeah, I bet. Oh God. That's bad, but that's fucking funny. Mm. That's buff. First, I think I might go get a drink. Hold on. You'll be right back. You just listen to chill music. Hopefully it doesn't. Alright, I'm back. Too long just getting. I guess I'm apple cider. Being on alcohol, alcoholic. Wow. Clearly, I need the non-alcoholic apple cider. If I'm gonna be stuttering like that, goddamn. I just missed the last bit of is it the dialogue. I like how other models just went kind of 3D. Aw, they're so cute. I really love that character design. Hope is a flame, the light that never falters, the beacon of eternity. It is heavy and poignant, but there is no greater duty than this one. The fate of lost souls rests on your shoulders. Look, I was overwhelmed too at first. Just try to keep your focus. Take it one step at a time. You'll soon get used to this place. Accustomed to these moments. You are the SpiritFarers, after all. Oh, just one last thing. Once I am gone, you will have to find a ship of your own. Yeah, fuck you, you don't get my boat. Mine is not suited for you. It will fade away once I am gone. You're like his son or something? This kid. You might find one not too far from here, if you keep rowing in the right direction for some time. Probably. Bro, why you gotta put it like that? It's time. Here I go. So long, Stella, and good luck. You will need it. He's gone. Bye. God, this music's so gorgeous. Oh, this coloring and whoa. Wow. Aw. So we're rowing. We're vibing. We are vibing. Da 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 da. Loading stream time. Da, 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 da. Actually, I do want to play what is it, a trombone champion or whatever. Yeah, I saw them, some of the Hollow Girls playing it, and it looks really fun. And it looks hilarious. Like, I don't really play rhythm games, so like, the only rhythm game I play is a Hatsune Miku Colorful Stage. But again, I do want to play a. I do want to play a. What's the one that like was ported a billion times and is now on Steam? I want to play that too. Like, those would be fun for me to play. Alright. Oh, I really like this art style. This game is so chill, and I really like it. Like, I'm sorry to keep using up like this. That's just like a shitty computer that barely streams. Hopefully I'll be able to afford a new one soon. But like, just like the sound design of this game is beautiful. Just decided to freeze again. This is annoying. I hope doesn't keep happening. I literally just want to stream and vibe tonight. It was a good night for that tonight. You know, it's Halloween night. It's comfy. There we go. My character is so cute. They're so cute. So how do I move? Not moved yet? Okay. Oh, they're so cute. What? Oh, I get it. Wow, good job, Neon. Good fucking job. Ah! I dropped down too far and I dropped into the trash can. How this is a mood? Fuck. God. I thought this was supposed to be a chill game. What the fuck happened? Right. Hello, person. Okay, E. Stella. It really is you. Stand up straight and let me get a look at you. You look good. Found me. If you're here, it means... Oh. You are the new SpiritFarer. You have an Everlight now. Of course. See that boat over there? Over here. Okay, here goes. Hope my fur coat won't be damaged. Yeah, I'm kind of hitting myself over the head for not buying Cult of the Lamb yet, because that would be so fun to stream. Like I don't have anyone, like I don't have enough people to like make my own cult with my own like followers yet. At least I don't think I do. But still, I feel like there's some fun ideas there. Froze again. Oh. Whoa. Right. Wonderful. I'm not one to jump for joy, but this feels good. Don't you think? Good. As your SpiritFarer, welcoming stray spirits to a new job. Once aboard, they will assume their true forms. Well, that's my theory, anyways. Why are you looking at me like that? You need to come here and give me a hug. I can hug them. How do I hug? How do I hug? E? Hug. Hug. Oh, this is cute. This is so cute. I love this. Much better. Come with me now. Let's take a look at this chaos. Oh no. What a mess. Reminds me of Aunt Petunia's old yard. A beautiful, unorganized testament to someone's laziness. Or a vital impossibility to get rid of anything. At this rate, we should do something or my dust allergies will be back. Let me think. There's only one way to clean this up. You have to meet Albert. He's your local shipwright. And his jokes are garbage. Oh. But he is the only one who can fix your boat. We should head to Albert's shipyard. You must be wondering how to make the ship move. It's really easy, actually. Let me give you this key on this island. It will unlock that cabin in the back. You should find a map projector in there. How do I know all this? Well, I was planning an escape, remember? And you know me. I plan things meticulously. The fucking cat. Very meticulously. Go, open that cabin, Stella. The map projector should be simple enough to use. You just have to Go to Albert's shipyard. Okay, so we go to oh shit.